I was trying to break into stand-up comedy, so as a stepping stone, I wrote a comic poem called The Teacup Jamboree. I figured I could perform it at a general open mic in my neighborhood at a place called the Heartland Cafe. 3 of my friends showed up to watch me, and I also brought along my cousin Andrew. It turned out to be a very steep price for just a little stage time. We sat through 2.5 hours of some of the most painful poetry I've ever experienced. And I was a fixture in my college poetry scene, so I've heard my share of bad poetry. But this was some of the most soul-reaping free verse I'd ever been exposed to. One middle-aged man, who looked and sounded like life had worn him down to a nub, recited a piece for which the refrain was, "Nothing but the dead and dying, back in my little town." Nothing but the dead and dying, back in my little town. It was only later I realized he was reciting the lyric to a Paul Simon song. What threw me off the scent was his tone. The song is pretty peppy and up-tempo. He performed it like some post-apocalyptic zombie whose mind and soul have been obliterated by witnessing the death of every other person on earth. It wasn't so much a poem as a death rattle. His sepulchral voice transformed it into a dirge for the American dream. This didn't seem like a crowd ready to laugh. It was as if the soul of America were being drained of all the bile that had built up since the death of the 60s. After bravely enduring this psychological torture, Troy said he was sorry, but he couldn't take it anymore and had to leave. The irony is he's 6'5" and was easily in the best physical condition of any one of us. But his Adonis-like physique couldn't shield him from the emotional assault of that poetry. I'm sure I wasn't the only one at the table who envied him as he left. Finally, they called me up, and I performed a fully committed rendition of my piece. I think the emotionally shattering effect of the evening actually aligned nicely with the fake tone of the poem. Somehow, I killed. I don't know how many of them realized I was making fun of exactly the kind of poetry and spoken word they just performed. But who knows? Maybe they had a sense of humor.